Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast.
I'm Jill from New York.
And I'm Linda from Tasmania.
We are two moms from opposite sides of the world who are living, demonstrating, and helping moms across the world build their self-care asset bank.
Ready to dive in? Messy, interrupted, imperfect, and most of all mucked up. Let's get going.
Oh, hi. Good evening. Good morning.
All the things happening at once. As soon as we hit record, all of our kids swamped.
I think it's fun. I think it's fun.
Yeah,
I think
everything all at the same time.
And maybe it might come up.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with our highs and lows.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
I will.
I'm good, actually good now. So
good.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Welcome to the Mucked Up My Self-Care podcast where we do it real raw and all the rest of it. So. Highs and lows. Let's go.
Highs and lows. Okay. Oh, Declan. This kid. Let's see. Declan, stop moving. He's on my lap and keeps bumping it. Yeah. So if my microphone goes out, I apologize. Let me know. Well, that's going to be my low. Struggling with knowing how to parent well, or that I'm doing a good job parenting with the 4-year-old defiance when it comes to listening. And I have to keep reminding myself that he's only 4 and that I don't listen either. And I'm 36 years old. You know, how can I expect a 4-year-old to listen better than a 36-year-old? But he's getting into situations at school where he's punching, and other kids, he says they're his friends, and they're, asking him to punch him, and it's just confusing on how to parent that when the teacher's like, you got to nip this in the butt, and I don't know. So I struggle to know if I'm doing the right thing and all of that, and it's just hard when you think you get through to them, and then all of a sudden they go ahead and just obviously prove you wrong, that you didn't get through to them, or they don't listen. But again, he's only 4, and it's going to take more than one time for me to get him to learn this hard of a lesson.
Yeah. That's a massive load. I feel the load of that load right now.
And it's been causing some issues in the home with the listening pieces that we're all just frustrated. So I think there's crap going on, it feels like, in all of us, that we're just kind of button heads, and I don't know, we're kind of at wit's end. It feels very exhausting, almost as exhausting it did in the beginning when he was super tiny. Like these different levels of exhaustion that we go through was just hard. Let's see. My high, though, is I'm so proud of Declan for all that he does learn and do, because he's been trying so hard to have a yes, I can attitude, which is what he learns at karate, which I thought was going to be an issue with the punching, which kind of is, but we're working on it. Anyway, side note. The yes, I can attitude has really started to take force on him in his practicing of different things. So he's been practicing for weeks to do handstands, and he can get completely vertical now. He surprised us on the monkey bars this weekend and did them completely by himself. I looked up and he was already halfway through the monkey bars. I was like, when did you learn how to do that? So some of the things that he's just catching on to and showing that he has the drive to practice has been very impressive as a parent. And I love having that to look at and just be in awe of.
Yeah.
Those are my house and
Yep. Fantastic. Okay. I'm going to start with a low as well. I had a day of feeling very much pushed to my limit and pushed to my edge, mainly about the load and the pressure on my shoulders right now. And then feeling like there was more that was added, and more and more and more and more and more, and just how much of a load and how much it is unrecognized under this roof sometimes of how much I'm actually contributing and doing. And somebody can say, where's my left shoe? And I know exactly where it is. Or where's the remote? Or where's the, like, it seems like everybody just comes to me because I have the answer. So maybe that's a test for my boundaries sometimes, but I'm just feeling really pushed to my edge today. And so when you're just holding it all together, sometimes the slightest thing can send you over the edge. Yep.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Look back as well, and you're like, that wasn't actually a slight thing. That was actually a big thing. So that's definitely it's been a really rough day. My high, I'm not sure whether it was by accident or not, but my little 2-year-old loves to draw. She will sit there with pen and paper and concentrate intensely. She has this perfect little pencil grip. She draws and draws. And today she said she drew a face with an eye and a mouth and a head and arms and legs, and it definitely resembled a person. Very, very much resembled a person. I don't know if it was by accident or not, but I was very, very happy to see that. And I'm like, I'm going to go and put it on the fridge. She's like, no, not finished, not finished. But I was able to give her another piece of paper, which she used instead, because there's also the tendency to just scribble all over the stuff that she does. So at the same time, she also draws on walls and inside books and pillowcases. I even caught her drawing on my car the other day.
Oh my goodness.
Little tiny fingers at the end of the pen, holding it very finely and drawing perfect circles on my car.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I got tons of marks on my wall from drawing on it. Mm-hmm. His easel's right next to a wall, and I think he just thinks, okay, the paper doesn't need to be drawn on. This wall needs to be drawn on right next to it.
It's crazy. Isn't it crazy?
I love it on the wall.
You love drawing on the wall?
Yeah. You might be a graffiti artist one day, Declan.
Well, maybe. He's going to have to brush up on his art skills, but maybe graffiti is where he needs to go.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah, it's intense, but when they come out with something like that, it's just delightful. She's definitely an artist in the making, I think, and going to be very creative. So.
Cool. Very cool.
So we just had our 100th episode last week.
Woohoo! 100 episodes. You should sound more excited, Linda. Come on.
I know. It's been a day.
I know.
It really has been a day.
Here we are.
Bursting on the inside. I promise. This is really, we really, really love this podcast, actually. We really do love being here.
Yeah.
Even though it might not come across when we're exhausted.
So how does it feel to have reached 100 episodes about self-care and still be mucking it up?
Thank God we went with that title, I think. Because there were a couple of others, I think. Oh, gosh, I wish I could remember them now. A couple of others we were contemplating, which...
Oh, gosh, I don't even know if I remember.
I wonder if I can find it quickly. Because I'd love to hear about when you've put yourself out there with something like self-care, what do you think? Like we talked a lot about melty in previous episodes, and all sort of things like that. What do you think sort of is what happens when you put yourself out there?
Well, I think
in such a big way, like 100 episodes, or
well, I think that's a perfect example to talk about, is that we just put ourselves out there to people to invite them to.
Mommy, I want to tell you something.
Okay, you can tell me after I'm done with Miss Linda. Okay,
Mommy.
Or you could tell me now.
Let's tell the whole audience. Let's tell the podcast.
We'll talk about it after I'm done. Okay. Can you wait a minute and we'll talk about it when I'm done? Thank you. I know. But I do think our 100th celebration is something that we put ourselves out there for. And, the question is, did we do self-care afterwards? And I know I wanted to ask you that because that came up in our celebration. But, we decided to record live with a very intimate audience, and we handed out personal invitations to some of our closest friends and supporters. And I think that piece was something that, I put myself out there to invite people who I thought might benefit and support and enjoy this conversation. Because I'm like, who's going to want to come sit and watch a podcast episode be recorded when they don't really... Who knows if they're listening, first off. Second, like, I know they're my friends or they support me, but like, are they really going to want to be interested in, like, are they going to be interested in coming to this? I have no idea. So it was stepping out onto a platform that I really wasn't comfortable with and inviting people to this party. It was better than I imagined it could have been. I think everyone that did come enjoyed seeing a behind the scenes, like, what is it really like to podcast kind of situation, especially virtually across the globe. So, like, how did I practice self-care after that? Or did I surround myself with self-care coming onto the event? I'm trying to look at my calendar to see if I do have anything down, but I did not have a whole lot of self-care because I worked before and after our event. Like, I surrounded myself with other things. So it was a very melty week in all of the things that we had going on.
What I'm finding...
I took the following day off to go do some things, so it was a little less crazy, but just that was a very melty day also. So I think this weekend of not doing a whole heck of a lot was my self-care to recuperate from putting myself out there for this week.
What I'm finding hard though is, for anyone that might have had a chance to listen to the episode, I had 2 kids that were meant to be at school and daycare, and they were both off sick unexpectedly. So I pretty much just immersed myself in them for the rest of the day, and we sang songs and read books and had a pretty good day. What I'm finding hard in the situation I've found myself in, though, is how can I say this as diplomatically as possible? Oftentimes when people see success, it can be confrontational if they are in an unhealthy space. So what I find hard is, not only am I trying to nurture myself with self-care, take care of my melty, look after all of those things, I'm also trying to navigate somebody else who's feeling quite confronted with achievements or excitement or happiness or those sort of better emotions. So that means that there's then easily it's a hard place to then try and work out, is this my melty or somebody else's melty, or like how do I actually then navigate those two things and work out what's what, and respond with self-care if I'm being sucked or drained by other emotions around me.
Yeah, it's hard to. Oh goodness. It's like we've been talking about for the last 100 episodes, is how do we take care of our own self-care as well as the others around us in the self-care that we're seeing they need.
Sure.
And then parenting not just our own kids but other humans as well. And how we're divided. So, you could have been at the celebration 100% undivided is what you had set yourself up for, and then that didn't happen, so you weren't even able to do the self-care you needed after the fact undivided like you had planned.
Well, I wouldn't say that that's entirely true, because I did it alongside the kids. We got outside a lot, we read books, we did music, we did like lots of those things,
which I know for you is very energy filling. And then I think that's a fantastic way to spend the following hours after an event like that, is being immersed in our children and getting that play and
play.
Yeah.
Play.
I wish I didn't have to go to work right after and then go to bed. It would have been very fun to just go get outside in the sunshine and be with my son and just get that closeness after something. I think that's what we kind of like look for, is closeness after we put ourselves out there, because we kind of feel alone in being out and singled out for something important. And not that we're singled out, but like a spotlight is on us. So when we're like that, I feel like we crave closeness with someone after the fact. And I think our children are a great way to have that fulfilled.
Yeah. It's just in a healthier environment or a healthier space without so many complexities. 1 minute. What's wrong?
I was going to show you something that you said.
Okay. It can wait though. It's not urgent. See, right there. In a healthier environment with more mutual respect in relationships, there would be the opportunity to talk about what just happened and celebrate, etc.
100%. Yeah.
That is not my reality. And so even though I'd set myself up to be close to my kids and did so many things and was feeling great, all of a sudden I was hit with an argument, which felt like it came out of nowhere. And then I am very aware in those moments that I have put myself out there. So I know about guarding melty, I know about etc. At what point it becomes quite hard, I think, for us to navigate or differentiate between our own melty and somebody else's.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I am not responsible for somebody else's,
right?
But I am impacted by it if they are yelling at me or that sort of effect.
Definitely. And I've been in that same position before, Linda, myself. I think there was a turning point for my husband, who finally understood what melty was but I was able, and it kind of, I mean, it hurt us, the fights that we'd have after a big event, because
Mm-hmm.
of how melty I was and how abandoned he kind of felt, because I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the right space to connect with him the way he wanted to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it took a point where we had a big blowout for us to be like, you know what, this can't happen. There can, and it's different timing for us, I think, because unfortunately, when we are both doing the same event, we're at different time frames of the day. Most of the time, I'm at night and you're in the morning, so you still have a full day ahead of you after an event, and you're either with or without all of the people in your household. I'm usually ready to crash, and I only have my one person, because this child is usually asleep by the time I'm done with an event, or I'm still having to put to bed. But we're ending our day, so it feels a little bit different as to how I can separate myself from the situation where we don't have to have a conversation, and I can say, you know what, there's no conversation tonight after this event. We're going to have it tomorrow if you want, because I just need to, couch lock myself and relax after the event and go to bed. And that's it. So there's usually no conversation except like, how did it go? Fantastic. Great. Let's decompress in silence. But it took us a long time to figure that out, and better communication. Unfortunately, that's challenging when you are dealing with another human that's melty and still doesn't understand that of themselves, not even understand what the experience is, but understand what they themselves are going through.
But I think what's really important to recognize here, though, is that you've come to some place where you could talk about it.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, at least in my experience, I've talked about melty is like, well, that's just ridiculous, it doesn't happen. Or I'll say, I just need time to be with the kids, and unfortunately that doesn't seem to be heard or listened to. So as you were just talking about earlier with the punching and stuff at school, it's not just, it doesn't just happen out of nowhere. There is a lead up to that point, or some words that are exchanged, or all of those things, which mean that it's not just that 1 minute that you're looking at. It's all of the antagonizing, or the sort of the lead up to that, which can mean that we can do the self-care when we've put ourselves out there, but we can't predict or expect that other people will do the same. And ideally, I would not let that affect me. Ideally, I would not let that control the house, but it does. Unfortunately.
It does, yeah.
Not sure how we ended up here, but there we go. 101 it's time.
Well, putting yourself out there is a very vulnerable thing, and having these discussions about our vulnerable after doing that is exactly what self-care is needed for, is to help us be able to talk about these vulnerabilities too, I think. So I think you did a great job, though, Linda, of surrounding yourself with your kids and getting some self-care in after that event. And I think you usually do a good job with that too. Like, I know there's a lot of struggle for both of us when it comes to communicating the melty.
Mommy,
but our kids are super easy to be self-care buddies with. I think for anyone who is feeling that they've put themselves out there and are needing some self-care, don't forget to plan either around it somewhere if you're able to, whether beforehand to get yourself ready to be out there and doing something out of your comfort zone, or immediately after, especially if you're able to get some sunshine, be out with your kids, the distraction to think about, how awesome you're putting yourself out there was for yourself, and how much you need to just rest and get some energy back some
And
joy.
remember, it's not necessarily your fault if somebody else feels confronted when you've put yourself out there too.
Yeah, especially if you need to take solo time.
Mhm.
And sometimes those other, like even our children, our spouses, our partners, whoever, they can feel hurt by you not, by you saying you need space to be alone. So I think there'll be future topics for us to talk about boundaries and setting that up for when we do put ourselves out there and need that self-care set up
Yeah.
before and after.
Yeah. So, Jill, are you done? He keeps saying, are you done?
I know.
I think we're done for now. So until next week.
We hope you can unstuck your mug. Bye.
Bye.